Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome to our final day of our 9-day devotion in gratitude to St. Matthew, with 9 days of exploration of the Gospel of St. Matthew. I just want to say that the reason Clark and I are doing this is today is April 15th and tax day, and St. Matthew created miracles for us with our real miracles for us with our taxes. And after that, we offered to memorize a little bit of his gospel in gratitude, and then he created more financial miracles for us, so we memorized a little more of his gospel, and before we knew it, we had cascading financial miracles, and a lot of the gospel memorized. And then he was so helpful to us this winter that we said we would offer a 9-day novena in gratitude.
Right.
This is the final day, and our focus has been on ecology, not theology. That we want to look at this story, we want to look at the ecological teachings of the rabbi from the Second Temple period, and not use these teachings to reinforce an institution or an idea of empire.
Right, which was clearly not something that Jesus ever had in mind, right? None of his teachings are about empire building or building an institution.
And when you go back through the 8 days before this one, and we looked at the 7 major parables, that he keeps saying the kingdom of heaven is like. He's not saying how you should behave, or he's not telling you to use these parables as a metaphor for some spiritual state. He's actually trying to reinsert people into the lived ecology of their experience.
Yeah.
And saying that the kingdom of heaven is like a world where the seeds fall in a lot of different places. It's like a world where the wheat and the tares grow together and we don't worry about it so much because we can make bread. It's a place where the nets bring in good fish to eat and bad fish to eat and we don't worry about it too much. It's a place where merchants are included, where farmers are included, where women are included, where baking bread is included, where everyone is included. And it's a diverse, messy, and Jesus does these 7 parables, and later on in the gospel, as Clark and I discovered, he can't stop. The kingdom of heaven isn't like one thing. The kingdom of heaven is like everything he sees in the world around him.
Right. He draws for his teachings from the earth and from the lives of ordinary people he's talking to.
And he's always saying, right here, where you are, in this mess, this is the kingdom. This is it. It's nowhere else. See it. And he always says, if you have ears to hear, let him hear. You know, if you can see it, if you can hear it, if you can, as we're going to look at today, if you can touch it, that's the kingdom. So, we're at our final saying we're going to do today as a bookend. And
again I say unto you.
Well, again I say unto you, yes, let's do this. We'll say it to you and then we'll explore it a little bit.
Again I say unto you that if 2 of you shall agree as touching anything on earth that they shall ask, it shall be done for them.
For where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there am I in the midst of them.
Yeah.
Now we know that second part of this saying pretty well because it's used by the church to enforce congregational relationships.
Yeah.
You should come to church.
Right. That's basically it. It has been used for thousands of years now to boost church attendance. Right.
But let's look at the first part of this, because one of the things I was so surprised at was that the words that precede this familiar saying are strange indeed.
Yeah.
And I think it's their very strangeness that deconstructs this familiar saying in really exciting ways for us. Jesus says,
again I say unto you,
if 2 of you agree as touching, I think touch is very important, as touching anything on earth
that they shall ask,
it shall be done for them.
Right.
But the touch and anything on earth, we're not talking about some spiritual perfectionism. He's not saying if you do this, you're going to get enlightened. You're going to become purified. You're going to get into heaven. You're going to improve yourself. You're going to be better.
This is not about purity, right? This is not about cultivating some sort of spiritual state. These are practical matters, right?
This is practical matters. If you're going to live as a hunter-gatherer, how are you going to do it? And he gives the advice right here. Two of you got to agree on what you're touching on this earth, and agree about what you're asking for. And that's very, very profound. Jesus is talking to a group of people who are sitting on the earth, who live close to the earth. Mm-hmm. And they know what they ask of from the earth. They ask the earth for food. Give us this day our daily bread. Who are we talking to when we ask for our daily bread? But the earth. Give us this day our daily fish. Give us this day our daily wheat. Give us this day our daily berries.
Right. And we're talking about cooperative, collaborative living here. It's not give me, it's give us, right?
Give us.
These are the basic, human needs that we share in common.
And we're not hoarding. If two of you agree on what you need, ask for it.
Right.
And the earth will give it to you.
And he's saying, I think, and even today's sort of card-carrying, church-going Christians will agree on this. Is that he is saying that there is power in communal prayer, right? That when you get clear and get focused and being in relationship to people is a big part of that. Now, in our Way of the Rose group, we do it a little differently, right? You're not told what to pray for, right? And there's no performative prayer where you go and you perform a liturgy, right? And that is supposed to sort of satisfy you for your spiritual needs, right? And sort of leave it up to God to decide what you need and when you shall be given it. This is, in our group, this is a conversational matter. And he's talking here about a collaborative, conversational kind of prayer, right? Again, I say unto you, if two of you shall agree as touching anything on earth that they shall ask, it shall be done for them.
Let me give you a really practical heart's desire. Mm-hmm. And we'll go, oh, I want that.
Yeah.
I had that happen last novena, 2 novenas ago. Brenda Mooney came, and I heard her pray for magic. Now, I had just sold a book called Take Back the Magic, about magic, and earth magic, about the magic of this earth. And I'd never prayed for it. And of course, it's the thing closest and dearest to my heart. And it's like one of those things that's like been sitting on the table waiting for me to pray for and to kind of stop zooming around and see what it really was. And Brenda asked for it, and I go, oh, I feel it in my heart.
Right.
And I said, I'm going to pray for magic. When the two of us recently had a good giggle about it, she came to the shrine, we sat on the earth, we touched the earth, and we agreed that magic was what we were always praying for from the earth together. Right. So maybe we have more of it. But there is a great pleasure in agreeing with other people. And by the way, so I decided I'm going to pray for magic. And Clark says, oh yeah, I'm praying for magic too. So we, it kind of infected us, and we all said, oh boy, that's what I want.
Let's talk about that agreeing for a moment, because that's really important. When here's what we don't do, and here's what we do. What we don't do is we don't show up like at a Way of the Rose meeting and agree to all believe the same thing. Like within our groups, we have people who are, still going to Catholic Church every Sunday. We also have witches. We also have Buddhists. We have people who describe themselves as agnostic about pretty much everything but the earth. But, Our Lady gets in under the wire for them, and they feel comfortable praying the rosary. So there are a lot of different people who come, but they don't necessarily agree on what to pray for, right? Or who they are, what their spiritual identity is, or anything like that. There's no rosary police. There's no enforced conformity or anything like you tend to find in most church settings. Okay, there's not
we
even
don't have
any
an
creed,
enforced liturgy.
Right? Yeah.
We don't have any. We don't have any scripture.
Yeah.
We don't. People don't have to even have read the book The Way of the Rose before they come to a meeting.
Right.
They never have to read it.
They just have to show up. That's it.
Come on.
Yeah, but what happens is that people do agree to pray with and for one another, side by side with one another. You hear somebody's prayer and you see how much they want it, and you enter in. There is a kind of an agreement that takes place, of pooling, of binding together of our prayers as one, right? And so there is that, and that's a very, very powerful thing, to feel other people praying with you. Okay, everybody gets, somebody says their petition, everybody says a Hail Mary afterward. Everybody, adds their prayer. So it's like the wind filling
magic.
our sails. Yeah, that wind, in another one of his parables, Jesus talks about the kingdom of heaven being like the wind, the Spirit being like the wind. We don't know where it comes from or where it goes. We know it when we feel it, right? So there's that Spirit that comes and fills our sails and emboldens us to pray and take action for our heart's desire.
And I'd also just like to talk about agree as touching anything on earth, because what Jesus is saying to us is, let's go look at the earth again. Let's stop looking at some lost idea in our head about spiritual perfectionism.
Right.
And let's start looking to the earth. And at the Way of the Rose, that's what we say. We're devoted to the lady and the earth.
Right.
And we want to look at the earth. And in fact, we've invited people throughout these parables to say, it's not like you have to, quote, believe in these parables. Jesus isn't telling us what to believe. He's showing us how to interact
Right.
with the world around us. And so what we really need to do is to go out where we are and say, today, where is the kingdom?
Right.
The kingdom is the forsythia that bursts into bloom on a sunny day.
Yeah.
The kingdom is the squirrel rushing out into the road, just having been born, being hit by the car. That too is the kingdom. How is that the kingdom?
Yeah.
I have the harder one for me today on Good Friday. Everything we see in the world, on the earth, that we agree is touching, is the kingdom. That is it. And it's why the spiritual texts of our age and this moment are not these ancient scriptures, but they're books like Braiding Sweetgrass and Entangled Life and Finding the Mother Tree, because we are trying to learn how to learn the language of birds and flowers again.
Right.
We no longer speak that language. Jesus, we were already forgetting it in Jesus' day. And Jesus said, please remember how to speak the language of birds and flowers. And in fact, I will say it right here. I always think Jesus comes back as St. Francis and gives it one more shot. Let's try again to get this point in. Can I hit you over the head with it?
And let's talk for a moment about the earth as the touchstone for the spiritual life, right?
Yeah.
This clearly was the case for Jesus. He
The
does it.
earth is your touchstone.
Yeah, he's always looking down, right? He talks to his Father in heaven, but when you look at his actual teachings, he's so grounded, right? He's constantly talking about the cycles of nature and the cycles of birth, death, and rebirth. He's constantly talking about animals and seeds and shepherds and people who live close to the land and farmers, right? So the earth is this spiritual touchstone. So again, I say unto you, if two of you shall agree as touching anything on earth that they shall ask, it shall be done for them. Our Lady says something very similar when she talks about how the earth is designed in such a way to answer prayers, right? The earth is the answer to every prayer.
The earth is the answer to every prayer, is what Our Lady has said. And Jesus is saying the same thing here. And I even had a sort of strange thought today, which is, where 2 or 3 of you are gathered, there am I in the midst of you. The earth is there. When 2 or 3 are gathered, what is there also with us, beneath us, bearing us up?
Right.
But the earth.
Right. Let's talk for a moment about, you left out a part that I think is probably going to nettle a lot of people, because it trips my switches, having grown up in a sort of conservative religious tradition.
I'm less triggered because I didn't even know who Jesus was until I was about 18. So
well, I got hardcore Jesus growing up. So, if 2 of you shall agree as touching anything on earth that they shall ask, it shall be done for them. For where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name. All right? Now, that means something very different to me since Our Lady than it did before. I used to hear that and just go, oh my gosh, I just can't hear another Christian ask if I love Jesus, right? I just can't listen to another conservative screed against women's rights or against immigrants or whatever, right? That would trigger me, because Jesus, the name Jesus, has been invoked for so many awful purposes for thousands of years now. So give me a break. But when I think about the teachings that Our Lady has offered us, and where she talks about life force, as she even says in one of her messages that the child I give birth to tonight is the life force, right? It's the life of the planet, right?
The wick, that wick that goes up through the candle and burns, that green sap that rises in the tree, our life,
right.
That
energy.
energy.
In her messages, she never talks about, Jesus as a historical person, but she talks about her child. And she talks about this life force. So when two or three of you gather together in my name, like the name of that life force that comes from within us, right? It's not all Jesus all the time, some sort of hierarchical figure, right? Who tells us what to believe, how to behave, what to wish for, what to pray for. We're talking about a force that comes up from within us, right? A spirit that gets awakened. Well, this comes up through the soles of our feet from the earth itself.
And Clark, can tell us, too, that the Buddha has the Buddha offers a teaching that's very like this one.
It really is.
Of course, just like with poor Jesus, Buddha's teachings get turned into all kind of folderol and very, very quickly as well. This is what actually happens.
This is one of the earliest teachings of all. And those of you who know a bit about Buddhism can go back to the early text in Ashvaghosha, which is a biography of the Buddha. But according to the stories, the night the Buddha was enlightened, right? He was enlightened during that gap hour, right, between the first and the second sleep. He looked up and he saw Venus, right, the star Venus, and his mind opened, his soul opened, his spirit opened. And the question is, what did it open to, right? Like what was the nature of his enlightenment? Well, all night long, the tempter, Mara, sort of like the Buddhist devil, right, has been coming to him and tempting him and trying to throw him off his game. And when Mara finally cannot get him to break off his meditation, he issues the ultimate challenge. And he says, what gives you the right to sit on the seat of enlightenment underneath this Bodhi tree? Like, what gives you the right to call yourself enlightened? Like, who's your witness, right? And the Buddha, according to legend, reaches down and touches one finger to the earth and says, I call the earth as my witness. And in some stories, the earth goddess herself, Gaia, right, or Our Lady, comes up out of the ground, halfway up out of the ground, and confirms to Mara that indeed, what he is saying is true. I always interpret that nowadays as that finger by the Buddha. The point of it is not self-importance, right? It's not pointing at him. It's not pointing up. It's pointing at the earth. What he's really saying is, my enlightenment consists of this. That finger is an equal sign. I am that. I am this. I am her. Right? We are one. That's what gives me the right to live the enlightened, compassionate lifestyle. It's a beautiful story, but it gets overlooked.
Touch the earth. Speak of the earth. Let us speak of flowers and birds. Let us fill Way of the Rose with pictures of the earth. One of the things we've noticed since, we've been running Way of the Rose is there are people who love to get involved in theological debate on Way of the Rose. Oh, they get so excited when there's a theological debate. Thousands of comments and words. There are never people that come to meetings.
Yeah.
And we see you. The people who come to meetings post pictures to enliven the spirits of other people or post devotional stuff. Right. They don't get involved in the theology because they're too busy touching the earth.
Yeah.
Less theology.
More ecology.
More ecology. And the more we fill Way of the Rose with real ecology, real witnessed experience of the earth, the more powerful we will become. And empowered in our hearts.
And spiritual ecology, which is really, what we do on Way of the Rose, is really how we interact with one another and with the earth in order to pray for our heart's desires, right? This call forth those blessings from within our lives that blossom like flowers. From
And the
us.
more we pray for our heart's desire, the more we feel aligned with all of the beings that are on this beautiful springtime day here in the Catskills, also praying for their heart's desire.
Yeah.
The cardinal singing on the branch is praying for her heart's desire.
Yeah. Everything prays, Our Lady says.
Everything, every tree, every mountain, and every stone
Everything
is
is prayer.
praying. And that is the kingdom of heaven. Nothing is left out of Jesus' kingdom. It's not a sorting hat. It's
Yeah.
a net that gathers
Yeah.
everything together.
Yeah.
And so in honor of St. Matthew, we have offered these teachings. If you do ever have trouble with your taxes, so you
Yeah.
work for us.
It works
No,
for-
let me
works for
just
a lot
finish
of
today.
things.
Let me just finish today. This is our little St. Matthew statue. We got him in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And we say thank you to St. Matthew for help with our taxes, help with our financial problems, and we're going to continue to call on him for help. We're going to continue to keep on memorizing things from St.
Yeah,
Matthew.
maybe next year we'll have some more. It took us a few years.
It took us a few years to get ready for this.
To get ready for this.
We memorize slow.
Yeah, we're slow.
But thank you, everybody, for joining us with this. And again, we invite you to fill Way of the Rose with your own observations of the kingdom.
And your own lived, experience of the Rosary and the Lady.
Yeah. We share our love for her. Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.